going to look at the speaking test for the IELTS, and in particular we're going to look at the part 2 where you have to give the talk for 2 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to look at is different ways that you can plan, okay, which is very important, how to start speaking, also quite difficult sometimes. We're going to look at how you can link your ideas together so that you have a very structured answer. And specifically, we're going to choose a topic. And the topic that we're going to use as our example is describe a beautiful place that you once visited. Okay, so we'll be working with this example throughout the presentation. Okay, so let's just go through, in case you're not sure exactly what happens. So you are given a task card by the examiner, and it has on it one topic. You have some time to prepare, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes. There's no interruptions, there's no questions, you are speaking completely for that time. Okay. Part 2, it's also called the long turn. That's what we call it as examiners. Okay. So just to start off with, we're going to do a little true-false exercise. So just to see if we've got the same idea about the part 2. So you can just put your answers in the chat. So the first one is it about a personal experience? Okay, yes, very good. It is always a personal experience, same as the part 1. Okay. What about this one? You have 2 minutes to prepare. Is that true or false? To prepare. Okay, that's false. How long do you have to prepare? Okay, yes, Ellie, 1 minute. Exactly, okay. And it's very strictly timed by the examiner. Okay, the speaking, though, is for 2 minutes. Okay, that's right, Juan, Mohammed, yeah, okay, 2 minutes to speak. All right, you can't make any notes at the beginning? Okay, yeah, nope, like that. Yeah, that's false. You have 1 minute to make notes before you start speaking. Okay, you must cover all of the points on the question card. Okay, so okay, Mohammed is right. There's quite a lot of confusion, I think, over this. You don't need to cover all of the points. Okay, they are just there for to give you ideas. They're there for your benefit. It's not a task as such. It's really just there to help you. So you don't have to complete all of those points, okay? It's for your benefit, not for the assessment, okay? You don't have to cover all the topics, all right? Very, very important to remember that, because otherwise people start rushing, and then that's when you end up finishing too quickly because you're more concerned about covering everything than about speaking for 2 minutes. So you don't have to be concerned about that at all, okay? Okay, similarly, you need to finish your story before the time is over. Yes, Fawaz, you can look at your notes while you're speaking. You will have your notes in front of you. Okay, good. All right. Again, you don't need to finish what you're saying. Okay. It's good if you are still speaking. When the 2 minutes is up, the examiner will just stop you. That's not a problem. That's actually a good thing because it means that you've been speaking for the whole 2 minutes. Okay. So there's no task as such in the part 2. You've just got to keep talking on that subject. Okay. Okay, you need to tell a funny story to get a high score. Yeah, you don't need to tell a funny story. It doesn't need to be particularly interesting. They're only looking at for your English. Okay. Okay, the examiner asks one question at the end of the talk. Okay, yeah, Nilo, yeah, that's right. It's true. There's always one quick question about what you said. And should you give a very long answer to this follow-up question? Okay, good. No. Okay, false. You just answer it very quickly. Just one sentence is perfectly fine for that. Okay. All right, to move on, questions in part 3 and part 2 are on the same topic. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Part 3 goes on to ask more abstract questions on the same area. Okay, before you start planning, that you should spend quite a lot of time thinking about which topic you want to talk about. Okay, good. False. Definitely, you really don't have time with 1 minute to make notes. It's really not going to be possible for you to think about it. You need to have your topic straight away, okay, and be writing notes on the detail, not thinking about what you're going to talk about. Okay. So let's look in a bit more detail at that. Yeah, so as we just said, be very quick choosing what topic you want to talk about. This is where all the preparation before the exam comes in. You know, you should try and cover as many different topics as you can. Check all the different websites, check all the books, make notes, make plans on all of those different topics, okay? So you have ideas coming very quickly, okay? And this is a very important thing. I mean, there's a whole range of questions, but they tend to fall into similar categories. So there's lots of topics where you have to talk about a person. Maybe they say, talk about a teacher, talk about a relative, talk about someone who influenced you, talk about a friend. But in all of those cases, you're going to be describing a person. So you need vocabulary to describe characteristics and qualities. Very common questions about places. For example, this one, describe an area of beauty in your country. Describe where you went on your last holiday. Describe a popular tourist place in your country. So, you know, again, different questions, but in all of the cases, you're going to be using adjectives to describe a beautiful place. So what kind of words can we use to describe scenery and landscapes? Objects is a very common one, occasions, things like that, okay? And yes, the last question, Vasudevan, very important to have a good range of vocabulary related to each of these topics, okay? But think of the different categories and you can adapt it depending on exactly what it says, okay? And obviously the more memorable it is, the more you're going to have to say, the more detail you are going to be able to give, okay? All right, so let's look now at a bit more detail of vocabulary. It's what we were just mentioning, and having very precise, less common vocabulary. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Yes, same person question. Cohesion and coherence is also important, and we're going to be looking at that a little bit later on. Okay. So let's imagine this is what you're going to talk about. What kind of words could you use to describe that landscape? Try and think of as interesting adjectives or expressions as you can. Okay, serene, snow-covered, breathtaking, mesmerizing, very nice, majestic, fascinating. That's really very, very good. Yeah, tremendous, fantastic, stunning. Okay. Yeah, really, really good. Brad's back high for Brad. Photogenic, yeah. Okay, outstanding, very nice, like the snow-topped mountain. Okay. Nature at its best, very good. All right. Similarly, you're quite often asked to talk about a town. And that's quite a common topic in the part 3 and in the writing, to talk about architecture. So yeah, we've got picturesque from Ellie. So what could we use to talk about this kind of Okay, historic is very good. Ancient, very nice. Flowers, religious. Okay, yep. Monuments, sanctuary. Okay, very nice. Heritage, yeah, very good. Okay, gorgeous, very nice, impressive. Okay, another town, slightly different atmosphere here. So what could we use? Okay, we've got modern structures, metropolis, very good, futuristic, high rise, metropolitan, contemporary. Okay, all struck with beauty. Lovely, Shivam, that's fantastic. Okay, very good. And what about the last one? Okay, scenic is very nice, serene, that's beautiful, peaceful. Okay, lush green, very good, yeah. Greenery, tranquil. Mother Nature, Indirit, that's very nice. Yep, oh, bucolic, yash, wow, that is very good vocabulary. Okay, so, you know, all of that kind of very high level vocabulary, that's what you are looking at. You don't want to be using kind of nice, good, bad, that kind of, that's very basic. The more less common words you can use, the better. Okay, a dreamland, very nice. Okay, so that's describing. So that's one thing that you're going to do. But that's not going to get you 2 minutes. Using adjectives to describe the place, you can't really do that for a whole 2 minutes. So, you know, what else are you going to talk about? So you need to plan all the different areas, all the different things that you can talk about. Okay. So still staying with the same example. Okay, so why plan? This is really going to help you to keep going for that essential 2 minutes. Okay, and it helps you to do that in a structured way. Okay, Vasudevan was asking about cohesion. It's part of what it is. So you've got a very structured answer, which is easy to follow, easy for the examiner to get the ideas. Okay. And, you know, the more you've prepared, the easier it's going to be for you to talk fluently and to focus on the vocabulary and the grammar while you're talking. Okay. So let's keep looking at that. All right. So how do you plan? Very important. It's not going to be enough just to answer the bullet points. Okay. That's quite a big mistake that people make. As we said before, it's not necessary to answer all the bullet points, and it tends then you're too focused on doing that, and you know you're finished in 30 seconds if you just kind of answer the questions. That's really not enough. You've really got to go into a lot of detail. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So we can't just describe, we are going to give lots of background, okay? We're going to give as much detail as possible. All right, so looking at this again, okay? Going back to the first picture that we looked at on the slide. So let's say we've described this place, stunning, majestic, all those fantastic words people were using. So what else could we talk about related to this? This is the place that we visited. What other things can we talk about? Okay, so we can talk about, very good, Jalil, we can talk about the temperature or being there. We can talk about activities like mountain climbing. Okay, the weather, very good, that we went hiking. Okay, yeah, it looks very cold. Very good, Gopal, why we chose this place is very important, where it's situated. Okay, very good, yeah. Camping there, yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, so we've got a bit more information now. So does that help you? Problems with altitude, yeah. The second picture, does that help you with any more information that you could give? Okay, so yeah, talking about the kayaking, maybe other water activities that you did there, describing the activity. Very good, excellent. Okay, now we're going to look at the next picture. What else can this, how you got there? That's very good. What else could we add in? What other areas could we talk about? Okay, yeah, Mark, that's one thing. So the kind of people who you were with, yeah, who did you go with? And, you know, what was that experience like? Okay. And then what about the last picture? Okay, we've got lots of things. Okay, so yeah, we've got the wildlife, we've got the unexpected bear. I think that's exactly right. Yeah, or a scary moment to take. Exactly. So we've got an event here, a very specific event that we can talk about. You could also then go on to talk about conservation. That's a very, very good point. Yeah. Okay. So you know, these are all areas that we can think about. You're not just describing, you're giving all of the background and information. Okay. So how do you plan? You've got your minute, yeah? One of the best ways to make a very quick plan that's easy to see, it's easy to organize, is somebody's gonna die now. It's very easy to see, you know, what you've put down and talk about it, you know, bit by bit. So what we do is make a mind map, okay, basically as we have here. So topic in the center, and then all of the different things that we are going to talk about, okay? So you think of different headings that you're going to put in these bubbles, all right? And a good way to do it is to have those headings in the form of questions, okay? Questions that you're basically asking yourself and then answering by telling them to the examiner, okay? So what kinds of question words could we talk about? Not quite Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, okay, so where, why, okay, yeah, how, when, okay, very good. Yeah, with whom, okay, yeah, I think we've got all of that. Okay, so yeah, so we've got where, when, okay, yeah, how much time, who, why, what. We could also talk about the weather, which you mentioned before. If it's some kind of holiday, foods, quite often a good thing to talk about. Feeling is very good. I like that one. Yeah, how you felt about it. That's very nice. And what you wore could be another thing. Could also talk about, you know, would you recommend this? How was it? You know, how do you rate the experience? And would you recommend it to someone out there? Everybody's worried about survival. Okay, so we got our headings in the form of questions. Cost, a very good point, yeah. So now we're going to make a couple of notes under each one. Okay, so we've got our idea. It's like a trigger that, you know, helps you to then speak about it in detail. Okay. So for example, under, so what we've got here is the true information about the trip. And we're going to match that with our headings, our questions, okay? So number one is where. So if you look at the answers on the left-hand side, which answer is for where? Okay, yeah, very good. Okay, so we're in Alaska, okay, where the black bears are. When? Okay, yeah, very good, yeah, in the summer of 2016, definitely. And who? Yeah, okay, with the two close friends. Why? Okay, why? Now think about why. Yeah, okay, yeah, because we love the outdoors and nature. Okay, what did you do there? Okay, yeah, F, so it's the activities. Okay, very good. Weather. All right, okay. B, okay, surprisingly warm and sunny, but cold at night. The food. Okay, yeah, very good. Lots of seafood. And then finally, 8. Okay, yeah, so would you recommend it? Yes. Okay, perfect destination. Okay, so we've got lots of different areas to talk about. We've got a trigger word or phrase under each heading, And that's going to allow us to, should allow us to speak for the 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. So let's do a little bit more practice with this. So imagine now we've got a different topic. We've got a restaurant I visited recently. So what, in this case, what kind of headings could you use? Okay, so again, could talk about how much, yeah, where, okay, who with, why, okay, what was the occasion, talking about the food, okay, very good, yeah, okay, very nice. So yeah, we've got, yeah, okay, the occasion is very good. So a lot of it's, you know, it's quite often the same, these kind of where, when, who, why, generally you can use in pretty much all of the situations, yeah. Okay, so what food, also talk about atmosphere, you know, you often talk about atmosphere in a restaurant, rating the experience, and would you recommend it? Okay, yeah, that's a good point, Jalil. The theme, was there a theme to the restaurant, that kind of thing? Okay. So works for the hygiene, yes, very good, Ayat, that's a good point. So it works for any kind of topic, okay? And if in this case, you know, you speak for about 20 seconds on each of those topics, you know, then you're going to have your 2 minutes easily covered, yeah? Okay. And remember, you know, you are going to need to go into detail, and don't worry about it being boring or not interesting to the examiner. You know, they really don't care. They need that 2 minutes of constant talking. So just as much detail as possible. Okay. So that, all right. And as well as using the details, then we also need to use linking expressions to organize our answer. So a well-constructed answer is also important for this, okay? So we're looking again at the same situation. So that was the first thing you could do, okay? So one thing is you make a mind map, you put different headings in each of the bubbles, a few words to trigger your memory, and then spend about 20 seconds talking about each of those bubbles, okay? You can also turn it into a story, okay? And you relate it as if it was just a story. Remember, you don't have to cover the bullet points. You can approach this in whatever way you want, as long as it's relevant. So you can just use it as basically as a starting point to then tell your story, okay? And that's a very good way to structure it, because, you know, you've got a clear beginning, middle, and end. And as we said, don't worry about it being funny, exciting, memorable. You don't have to make the examiner laugh. He just wants to hear your English, okay? So going back to these same pictures that we looked at, if you were going to use this as a story basis, what would be the story in a few words? Give me like a heading for the story, a title for the story. What would be a good title for this story? That was on my best friends. That's good. We got Brad over here, or over here, should I say, left of very left brain. Yeah, scary adventures, things like that. Unexpected journey, I like it. The monk who sold his story. Okay, I think I'm going to move on. So let's look at how we could do this structure. So this is just kind of quite a simple way to structure the story, but again, it gives you enough to talk about, so you're not getting quite to the, you know, to the end very quickly. So we've got 5 different parts. We've got the 5 parts on the left-hand side, but not in the right order. So we're going to order it first. So yeah, Vivek's ahead of me. So the first one is going to be the introduction, yeah. Then what we're going to talk about, yeah, so then we're going to give some background. We're going to talk about what was happening. Then we're going to describe the actual events. Okay, what happened? Okay. Before future, probably we talk about the opinion. You know, was it a positive experience, a negative experience, scary? And then we can think about the future. Would we want to go back to the same place? You know, would we go again? All right. So what are we going to put in the introduction? What kind of information? You can make up a fake story, Zaid, as long as you can keep that story going for 2 minutes. It's harder to talk about something that's not true than something that is true. Yeah, okay, so the introduction, you know, when, where, that kind of thing. Yeah, why. And also maybe why. Why am I going to talk about this? Why is this what I've chosen? Exactly. Merlin, Mohammed, yeah, basic information. Okay, what about the past? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so kind of where we were. Any other information for the past? Yeah, okay, so kind of setting the scene, as we call it. So where were you? What were you doing? That kind of thing. Again, that gives you a bit more to talk about. Yeah, okay. All right, describing the description. What are we going to put in the description? Okay, yeah, good, Rahul. Oh, hi, Rahul. Yeah, so, and the atmosphere, very nice. Yeah, so we're going to talk in detail about exactly what happened, where we were, what were the actual events that happened, okay? Opinion? Okay, exactly, yeah, so do we recommend it? Yeah, how do we rate it? What do we think about it? Exactly, okay. All right, how was it? And then future would be... Yeah, you're absolutely right, Merlin. As many adjectives as possible. Yeah. Would you do it again? Would you go back? Yes. And why or why not? Okay. So you've got a nice structure there for telling your story, which gives you enough detail to keep going for the 2 minutes. Okay. So let's have a look. Now we're going to basically go through and kind of form an answer, but a more condensed version. So our introduction, what we're going to talk about and why we're going to talk about it. So is that going to be enough for the introduction, do you think? I went to Alaska. Nope. No, exactly. Yeah, it's not going to get you enough information. Okay, far too short. Exactly, Merlin, we need a bit more. Okay, when, how, okay, what else could we add? Yeah, so a bit more and yeah, and more phrases also to give you the coherence and cohesion. Yeah. So, okay, very good. Yeah, night furry. You need an introductory phrase to talk about this. So today I'd like to talk about, yeah, things like I'd always wanted to go there. I was on the, I'm not going to read out anything else Brad says. Okay, today I'd like to talk about a place I went on holiday. Okay, a beautiful place that I went to, the actual name, that kind of thing. Yeah. And, you know, we can use the topic that we've got, but we just need to paraphrase it a little bit. So looking a little bit more at our complex sentences here. Remember, you also need to use complex sentences in the speaking. So I'd like to talk about a place I went on holiday. What's the missing word? Okay, which was exceptionally beautiful. Okay, so again, you know, very beautiful. Okay, exceptionally beautiful, much better. Okay, all right, very good. Sounds beautiful. Serendulum, sounds fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so which was exceptionally beautiful. Bit more information about the place, called Kenai Fjords. Okay. We're carrying, yeah, okay, which is located in the southern. Yeah, remember, we're carrying on the same sentence, so we need which rather than it. Okay, and then the why. Okay, I chose to talk about this place. Okay, good. Yeah, one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Okay, so again, already here, this is just the introduction. We've got quite a lot of information there. Okay, all right, so let's do a bit more practice. So remember, we made the mind map for the restaurant as well. So how could we, yeah, which, just be careful with your spelling, Prahlad, yeah? So today I'd like to talk about, okay, a place, a bit more, okay, a restaurant. Yeah, a restaurant. Can we put an adjective in front of that? Okay, yeah, an amazing, oh, oops, sorry. An amazing restaurant, a fantastic restaurant, yeah, exotic, very nice. Okay, second one, okay, good. The restaurant is called, okay, obviously then you're just going to give the name and where it's located. I chose to talk about this restaurant because, or yeah, okay, it's good. Establishment, let's get some synonyms going here, this place. Because it has great food. Why else might you? Let's give a good, strong reason. Okay, very nice. I heard a lot about it from my friends. Anchor, very, very nice. It's nice, cheap, and near my home. Very good, Canela. That's what you're looking for. Michelin star, okay. Mind blowing to the taste buds. We're firing on all cylinders today, aren't we? Okay, recommended by my amigos. Okay, so we've introduced it. Now we're going to go and give some more background. Okay, so I've already given you the answer here. First, let me give you a little bit more, okay, detail, okay, or background, yeah, on this trip. Okay, so don't go too quickly into your topic. Yeah, give a little bit of background first. It gives you a lot more time. Yeah. I know I did. I'm sorry, Prahlad. Okay, and then you explain that background. So at the time, so again, you know, we're using a lot of linking phrases here. First, let me give you some background. At the time, okay, introducing everything with the linking phrases in the same way that you do with the writing. Yeah, okay, so it's equally as important with the speaking. It's just we tend to use more informal ones. Okay. Okay, and here we're going to be using probably past continuous. Okay, I was taking my girlfriend for a date. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I was working as a teacher in Rome. Okay, and I'd been working there for 5 years. Yep. Okay, very good. Well done. Okay, two of my close friends, Pete and Chris, had, okay, you can definitely say already left, just left. Okay, well done, Mohammed. That's the right one. Had just left the school where we were working. Yeah. Okay, very good. All right. So, okay, so again, you know, linking phrase, but this time an informal one. You wouldn't use it in the writing, but you can use it. Yeah. Okay, good. We decided to, we planned to, yeah, anything like that. We wanted to go on a holiday together to celebrate. Then we move into the events, the actual description. So again, linking phrases, we're still using linking phrases. So anyway, informal linking phrases. And then past simple to talk about the events, because now we're doing it in the order that they happened. Okay. So like this, when we got there, we could see what all the fuss was about. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we went kayaking. Oh, we could also say we enjoyed kayaking, camping by the shore, and Seeing, yeah, I think seeing, or we saw so many different types of animals. You could also say seeing, slightly changing it, yeah, or watching, or eating eagles, seals, puffins, and giant sea otters. Okay, fantastic array of wildlife, yeah. Just before we left, okay, so again, linking phrase, time phrase to show that. You could probably say, I think notice doesn't quite give exactly the right idea, because you would really be looking at them. So saw or watched, I think, would be better. So now we're into the real crux of it. Just before we left, a bear, yeah, came into our camp, yeah. Barreled, I like that. Barreled, excellent. Crashed, very good. Some very nice. Very good. Okay. Pounced, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, and I showed up, yeah. Jumped, yeah, okay, yeah, and I had to, okay, I ran, yeah, that would work as well. I needed to, I tried to, various, depending on how well it went. Okay, chase them away by throwing a stick. Okay, then we're going to give our opinion of the event. So was it a good or bad experience? Would we recommend it to others? So again, linking phrase, introduce what we're doing. In my opinion, yeah, okay. If you like the outdoors, Alaska is the perfect holiday. Okay, very good. Destination. All right, it has, okay, lots of, abundant, very nice, yeah. An abundance of, yeah, we could say that. We've gone for unspoilt nature. Lots of different, a plethora of, I like that, Jamal. Is that Jamal? Very nice, yeah. Lots of different activities, yeah, and a chance to encounter animals in the wild, or yeah, it could be an opportunity, okay. And then we look forward to the future, okay. An unexpected chance, yeah, that's very good. So how are we going to introduce this? Yeah, we've got, finally, thank you, Jiha. Yeah, with regards to the future, okay. Yeah, or with reference to the future, I'd love to go back there. I'd like to, or I'd love to is a bit stronger, so that's even better, to go back there. And then we're going to explain why. So I'd love to go back there. Okay, yeah, because, or as we've given it, okay. I feel like I only, oh, you've skipped ahead, I think. I only witnessed, experienced, explored. Okay, very nice. There's some really, really good expressions there, yeah. We went for experience, but all of those are really, really good, okay. Okay, so it's a good thing for you to practice all of these, yeah, and do an outline, okay, or make the mind map, but do your planning for 1 minute. Keep it to 1 minute, because that's all you've got in the exam. Then record yourself speaking, okay, great practice to do. Can you do that for 2 minutes, okay, and then listen back, check, see how you did, see if you can improve it. Did you use the linking phrases? Did you use the best vocabulary that you could? Was it easy to follow? Okay, and that's the end of the presentation.
I'd like to say thank you very much, Annalie, for presenting that to us. That was really interesting. And thank you, everyone, for sharing your answers with us. We had some very, very creative answers to some of the questions there. So thank you. We have a lot of your questions to get through in the Q&A. If you do have more questions now, feel free to add them to the Q&A and vote for the ones you'd like us to answer, and we can get around to discussing them. So before we look at your questions, I would just like to mention that we have a speaking evaluation service available on our website. This is a paid service. It enables us to provide these free webinars. And you can go to our website, IELTSonlinetest.com, and book a session with an examiner to do a full mock IELTS speaking test where you'll receive feedback on your performance, including a written report. That could be either with Annalie or myself. We offer these speaking tests. So if that's something you're interested in, you can find that on our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. For Savan, the presentation will be up on our Facebook group in the next couple of days as well. So we'll have a recording of that you can check out on our Facebook group. If someone could put the link to that in the chat, that would be fantastic. So let's take a look at some of your questions. The first one is from Awad. Hello, Awad. Awad's question is, what should I do if I could not remember one word when speaking? Is there any trick to help in such a position? I guess if you've got one word that you want to say, but yeah, you forget that particular word.
Right, so a specific word that you're not able to. If you can try and paraphrase, that's the best thing that you can do. Try and, phrase it in a different way. Remember, they're not looking for specific words. So, you don't have to use that word that you can't remember. Just try and describe it in a slightly different way. Move on to a slightly different subject. But don't get stuck and stop. That's the worst thing that you can do. You really just have to move on, recover, and talk about something else. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think paraphrasing expressions like, the thing that you use for, like, say you can't remember the word for a tent, the thing that you sleep in when you're camping, it might be a way to avoid having to use that specific vocabulary as well. So exactly. We have a question from Merlin. It's a very good question. When we can't understand the topic, what should we do?
Okay, usually, they do try and have these topics so that they're not difficult to understand. They're very general subjects, describe a place, describe a person. There's not really an awful lot you can do, to be honest, if you can't understand. It's not possible to change the subject. The subject is given by the examiner. They won't change it. But all I can say is that's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen because it's going to be a person, a place, an object, an occasion. And I'm sure, those are all words that you'll be able to understand.
Absolutely. Thank you. We have a couple of questions about the next webinar, actually, on the general training for writing task 1. Mark, we do have a plan to do a general training writing task 1 webinar that will be taking place in 3 weeks on March 28th. So that will be happening. We'll be advertising that on our Facebook and on our website as well. So if you can wait till March 28th, we'll be doing a GT writing task, okay? We have a question here from Jamal. Do we have to be quick in speaking? Can we take breaks during the speaking?
During the part 2, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Not quick, but you have to speak continuously. Yes, there is no break. There's no question. It's 2 minutes of uninterrupted speaking. You don't want to go too fast. You know, it's not a question. Fluency does not equal speaking quickly. I think that's a very important thing to point out. You should speak evenly, you know, at a steady pace. Again, that will allow you to speak for the 2 minutes. So not quickly, but there are no breaks, there are no interruptions.
Yeah, thank you. We have a good question here as well. If you're not comfortable with the topic, this is from Indirit. If you're not comfortable with the topic you're asked, for example, being asked to talk about music, can you ask to change the topic?
They do have that situation in the part 1 for something like family. So, for example, if they say, I'd like to talk about your family, are you okay with that? And, you know, in case there's some situation where, you know, that would not be comfortable for you. I doubt very much whether they would allow you to change music, because that wouldn't be considered a topic which would create any kind of trauma or upset. So I don't think that would be possible to change.
Yeah, I think if I could add to that, possibly a technique to tackle if you really are uncomfortable talking about that, you could say, well, actually, I'm not very comfortable speaking about this topic because, and then give some reasons. And then if they might ask you another question about it, again, this is in part 1, you know, you can essentially explain, okay, well, we didn't study this in school because so you're still able to give an answer. You know, it doesn't mean you have to talk about the topic directly. So that would be my advice there. But I think it'd be very unusual. Yeah. We have a question from Pinar, who is asking, sometimes some people recommend telling more than one story in part 2. Do you also recommend this, telling 2 or 3 stories within the speaking part 2?
Okay, well, it has to be relevant to the topic that you are asked. I mean, you could have 2 scenarios that you want to talk about, but I would be careful about it getting confused. That sounds like quite a lot that you want to talk about. However, having said that, if you describe a beautiful place you visited and you come to an end, you could say, well, that was one place, and then there was this other place that I visited, which was also really beautiful, and then go on to talk about that. But just make sure, again, you know, the structure is clear, everything's signposted, and the examiner can follow you very easily.
Right, exactly. This is a similar question. Can candidates select or choose the topics to discuss with the examiner? This is from Shirley. Yeah.
No, there is no opportunity to choose. It's all chosen by the examiner before you come into the room. And again, other than the situation where there might be, you might not want to talk about family, there is no opportunity to change. You will have to talk about what the examiner's chosen.
Yeah. Exactly. Question here from Jerry, who says, I have a range of vocabulary to deal with the question, but I just stop for a few seconds before I answer the question. Do I have to speak more quickly? Do I have to answer more quickly?
Okay, so there's 2 kinds of pauses or hesitation. One is looking for content, which is a perfectly natural thing to do and something you would do in your own language. And that's totally acceptable, okay? And you can use something like fillers where you just sort of go, okay, let me think. And it's kind of clear that that's what you're doing. If you are hesitating because you can't find the vocabulary or because you can't find the grammatical structure, then that will lose you marks in the fluency. Okay, and it's usually, I would say, pretty obvious to the examiner which one is the case, because you kind of look in different directions depending on what you're thinking about. So fine if you're just formulating your answer. will be a problem if you're looking for vocabulary or looking for grammar.
Yeah. And another question related to vocabulary from Arnal here. They are asking, does the type of vocabulary depend on the IELTS level? So I think this is perhaps like what type of vocabulary, you know, will be a band 6 or a band 7, for example?
Okay, so to get a band 7 for vocabulary, you would have to use some idiomatic language. You would have to use what they call less common language. So as we were, looking at before, we had some great expressions like majestic scenery, breathtaking. So, that would be less common vocabulary. Also not repeating the same vocabulary, that would be important. And the other thing that's really, really important is collocation, which is using the correct words together to make phrases. So that's all the things that they are looking for. Band 6, you'd be using a reasonable range of vocabulary. You'd be able to talk about different topics, but there wouldn't be really anything particularly special in the vocabulary you would be using. It would be accurate, but fairly limited. 5, you'd be actually making mistakes in the vocabulary, using the wrong word or repeating the same vocabulary because you had quite a limited one. Band 8 is really that it's more sustained. So it's really the frequency. So band 7, you would be using some examples of less common vocabulary collocation. Band 8, you'd really be sustaining that all the way through the answer.
Yeah.
So
great.
Frequent examples.
Definitely. Question from Zaid here. He's asking, what about the part 1? Zaid, that is something we could look at in more detail in a future webinar. So we'll definitely plan one of them. I think there's been such a great response to the speaking webinars that we'll definitely be doing more of them in the future. So yeah. A question from Mohammed about accent. If the accent is not good, does it cause the marks to lower?
Accent is not really an issue. It's clarity. I mean, it's clarity of pronunciation. Is it easy to understand what you're saying? Are you pronouncing all the words correctly? It's not just also individual words or pronunciation, it's also intonation. So, your intonation patterns, your stress patterns, that is going to affect your score. To have a band 7, you would definitely need to be using that, variety, that rhythm in the language that we look for, not a very flat intonation. But having an accent of a native speaker is not necessary.
Definitely. A question from Neha, who's asking, are we allowed to look at our notes while speaking on the topic? Yes,
you have your notes with you all the time. Perfectly acceptable to look at them, to remind yourself. Not a problem at all.
Great. Yep. And Mark has a couple of questions. One is about, is it possible to speak on more than one experience within the same answer? So, for example, you could talk about a past experience, a present experience, and a future experience within the same part 2 topic.
Yeah, again, as long as it's relevant and as long as you've clearly highlighted or signposted to the examiner what you're doing at each point, so he knows this is a past experience, this is what I'm doing at the moment, then it's completely fine. Always signpost, linking phrases to make it clear where you are at each point of the presentation.
Definitely. Question here from Irish Dana. Hello, Irish Dana. Can we say informal words during the speaking exam? Is it okay to use informal or slang expressions?
Yeah, I mean, it's a speaking exam and they are looking for natural spoken English, so you would not want to sound formal. It's not what they're looking for. That's reserved for the writing. So yeah, idiomatic language, more informal linking phrases. That's definitely what they're looking for. Even some slang, yeah, slang's perfectly fine. Just natural spoken English.
Yeah. Excellent. Question from Mojo Jojo. Hello, Mojo Jojo. Can we pick a story from a movie or perhaps a TV show like the Powerpuff Girls? Because,
Did you mention that specifically?
yeah, from a movie. But would it be easier to just narrate? It would be easier to narrate a story from a movie. So would you recommend retelling a movie rather than talking about your own experience?
Good question. If you can make it sound like it's your own experience, then, I guess that's fine. Again, they're looking for the language. It's not a truth, it's not a lie detector test. It's just about providing the language. Make sure you don't sound like you're reading, though. That would be a huge mistake, because then it would sound like it was a memorized answer, which is a 0. So you would still need to express it, as if it was your experience. It could be a bit risky, but I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could add as well that, sometimes a topic is to describe a film or a movie that you've seen recently. So it would be worth preparing to speak about a movie anyhow, if you're planning to take the test. We are rapidly coming up to the end of the webinar, everyone. So I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I would just like to post you a link to our speaking evaluation service. This is where you can get a full mock speaking test from myself or from Annalie or one of our other examiners, along with feedback on your performance. So if that's something you're interested in, I've put the link there in the chat for you. I would just like to say a very big thank you to Annalie for presenting and for discussing and answering your questions. I'm very sorry that we haven't gotten through all of your questions. There's been a lot of interest. So I'm sure we'll be organizing another speaking webinar in the near future. So thank you very much for attending today and for participating. And we hope to see you again in a future webinar. Thank you very much, Annalie.
Thanks very much, Jamie. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. See you again next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Yeah.
Hey.